Sometimes someone becomes obsessed with you. They think about you constantly. They replay conversations in their mind. They analyze every message you send. Every small interaction begins to feel meaningful. And the strange part is, you may not have done anything extraordinary. You didn't try to impress them. You didn't perform some perfect act of charm. You simply existed. Yet somehow, in their mind, you became unforgettable. Psychologist Jung believed that when this kind of obsession happens, it often has very little to do with the person being admired. Instead, something far deeper inside the human psyche may be unfolding. Because when someone becomes intensely drawn to another person, they are not always responding to who that person truly is. Often, they are responding to something hidden inside themselves. Human beings rarely see other people completely clearly. We like to believe we do. But much of our perception is filtered through our unconscious mind. According to Jung, the unconscious constantly projects images, desires, and unfinished psychological material onto the people around us. This process is called projection. And projection is far more powerful than most people realize. When someone meets you, their mind immediately begins interpreting you through their inner world. Your voice, your personality, your confidence, even the way you look at them. All of these signals become raw material for the unconscious. Without realizing it, the mind begins building a story about who you are. But that story may not actually be about you at all. It may be about what they secretly long for. Imagine someone who has always wished they were more confident, more adventurous, more free. But for whatever reason, they never allowed themselves to become that version of themselves. Maybe life demanded responsibility. Maybe fear held them back. Maybe they simply never had the courage to pursue that path. Deep inside, however, that unrealized version of themselves still exists. Psychologically speaking, Jung called this the unlived life, a hidden identity that never had the chance to fully emerge. Now imagine this person meets someone who appears to embody that very quality. Someone spontaneous, someone bold, someone emotionally expressive. Suddenly something powerful happens. Their unconscious mind begins to whisper, "This person represents the life I never lived." And when that happens, attraction can quickly turn into fascination. Fascination can turn into obsession. Because the person in front of them is no longer just another human being. They become a symbol, a doorway, a reflection of something unfinished inside the psyche. This is why obsession often feels so intense and confusing. It carries emotional weight that seems disproportionate to reality. You might have spoken only a few times. Maybe you barely know each other, yet the feelings feel overwhelming. That's because the attraction is no longer only about the real interaction. It's about what the mind has attached to that interaction. The person becomes a screen onto which the unconscious projects desire, fantasy, and possibility. And the less the person truly knows about you, the easier this projection becomes. Mystery plays an enormous role in human attraction. The mind dislikes uncertainty. Whenever something is incomplete or unclear, the brain begins searching for answers. It fills in the gaps. It creates narratives. It imagines possibilities. When someone fully understands another person, the brain relaxes. But when someone remains partially mysterious, the mind stays engaged. It keeps trying to solve the puzzle. This psychological tension creates emotional intensity. And that intensity can easily be mistaken for deep romantic connection. In reality, what the person may be experiencing is not love. It is unresolved curiosity combined with emotional projection. The brain also reinforces obsession through chemistry. When someone becomes fascinated with another person, the brain begins releasing dopamine. Dopamine is not the chemical of happiness. It is the chemical of anticipation. It rewards the possibility of something meaningful happening. This is why people who feel obsessed often check their phone repeatedly, waiting for a message, replaying conversations, imagining the next interaction. Each moment of uncertainty strengthens the cycle, because the brain keeps expecting a reward, and the possibility of that reward becomes addictive. But the most fascinating part of Jung's theory is this: obsession rarely reveals the truth about the other person. Instead, it reveals something about the person experiencing the obsession. It exposes hidden desires, hidden fears, hidden versions of the self that were never fully lived. The admired person becomes a mirror reflecting those unconscious elements, which means that the intensity of the feeling does not necessarily measure the depth of the relationship. Sometimes, it measures the depth of the inner conflict. This is why many obsessions eventually fade once two people truly get to know each other. As reality becomes clearer, projection begins to collapse. The mysterious image disappears. The imagined story dissolves. And suddenly the emotional intensity weakens. Not because anything went wrong, but because the illusion that once fueled the obsession no longer exists. The mind is finally seeing the real person instead of the imagined one. This moment can be disappointing, but it is also incredibly important, because genuine connection can only begin once projection ends. Real love requires clarity. It requires seeing another human being not as a symbol, not as a fantasy, but as a complex person with strengths, flaws, and contradictions. Only then can two people truly meet. Carl Jung believed that one of the deepest goals of psychological growth is becoming aware of these unconscious projections. When we recognize them, something powerful happens. We stop searching for completion through other people, and instead, we begin integrating those missing parts within ourselves. The courage we admire in others, the creativity we envy, the freedom we secretly long for. These qualities may not belong to someone else after all. They may be signals pointing toward parts of ourselves waiting to be developed. And when a person begins living more fully as themselves, something interesting happens. Their relationships become calmer, more grounded, less driven by fantasy and emotional intensity, because they are no longer searching for someone to complete them. They are simply meeting other human beings as they are. So when someone becomes obsessed with you, it may feel flattering. It may feel mysterious. It may even feel powerful. But often, the deepest explanation has very little to do with you. It may simply be that your presence awakens something unfinished inside their unconscious, a dream they never followed, a life they never lived, a version of themselves they are still trying to find. And understanding that truth reveals something important about human attraction. Sometimes the strongest emotions we feel toward others are not about love. They are about the hidden parts of ourselves asking to finally be seen.